Now I would like to invite our two guest speakers up here with me, and we'll open the questions. We'll have a Q&A comments session here. Just a few comments. We'll run the microphones to you guys, so just raise your hand. If you want to make a comment, a longer comment, you have 3 minutes. After 2 minutes, you'll hear a bang. After 3 minutes, you'll hear 2 bangs. And as I did for the rest of the speakers, you'll hear bangs at a point where you're supposed to be wrapping up your comment. But first, we have, in the spirit of debating, we had the proposition and opposition. Now the proposition would like to make a few points and speak after our opposition here. So you have 2 minutes, as you said, to make your few points, and then we'll open the questions to the audience.
Okay, since I came second, I want to respond to some from Koskenniemi's comments. First, Koskenniemi claims there are no shared values between the EU and the US. But the case is not to compare, our values are exactly the same. But we need to compare if our values are very similar, or if our values are more similar to the US values or more similar to the Chinese values. Because that's what's at issue here. Whether we set the global status, try to set the global status, or leave the playing field for China, which has trade with anyone on any terms. There is no talk about workers' rights or environmental rights or anything of that. Economic benefits. Koskenniemi claims their impact assessments go both ways, but are all over the place. But this is not the case. All of them are positive except for one, which is done by Tufts University, based on a UN global policy model, not suitable for trade policy assessment. Then Koskenniemi says Koskenniemi critique about ISDS is about the past, I would claim. It's about the past ISDS mechanisms, but ISDS has already evolved. EU-Canada agreement, CETA, has already raised the bar. US model bilateral investment treaty of 2012 has already raised the bar. There are labor rights there and everything. And lastly, there will be definitely more reforms of ISDS. There will be no ratification of TTIP unless major reforms will take place. Austria has already said it will not accept TTIP with ISDS, so major ratifications will be needed if Austria will be gotten on board. The same goes for the European Parliament. There will definitely be big improvements to the already better system.
Excellent. That was a very punctual 2 minutes. Thank you.
Am I entitled to?
I'm sorry. We have to now open it to the audience, but you will get your chance. And don't worry, you're not restricted to 3 minutes. You go. It's just you guys. Okay. So the first question. We have a first question here in the gray jackets at the back. Oh, no, over here.
I'll take it off for you. Okay. Go ahead.
Sorry, I just saw that hand first.
Okay, this goes for both of you. Do you think that, since you're talking about values, do you think that the negotiators from Europe has a lower standard of values now due to the economical situation we're in, for example, to what we could have had of values before 2008? And yeah,
so I suppose the question was whether one should think that the values of European negotiators now would be somehow diminished from what they were a few years ago because of the economic situation and the decline, that they would be ready to give up more of things that European electorates would think are important. Absolutely, I have no doubt about that. Yes, certainly. So things that would have been inconceivable a few years ago in the European public realm when everybody was going towards a greener world. So the values have changed. I think so. That's not only an issue about the negotiators. It's about what happens in Europe itself too. So I wouldn't say that the negotiators' values have changed, or that the European Union has changed in some way differently from how European societies have changed. There's a big problem of democracy in this process as a whole, and which values get mediated into the negotiating process in the first place. So when I first saw the names of the people on the list of the negotiators, so the first thing I had to note was that I don't know any single one of them. Now, I'm an old international law hand who's been all over the place in UN matters and UN legal matters, let's say. And that comes with a basket of values, I suppose, preferences, you would say. And I had to know, well, at least my guys aren't negotiating. I would say, well, I haven't done that much work in terms of economic integration, for instance, or economic development. So I would assume that these guys represent more the economic side of things. And that's a big problem. So, it was a clear question, and what was about the change of values? Yes, I think there's been some. I think that change of values among the negotiators reflects the change of values, perhaps in the European society, the decline of the economic situation. But I don't think that is a fundamental problem. There are other more important problems having to do with how European values get mediated into European Union decision-making, including the determination of the mandate of the negotiating treaty.
I agree that the crisis has affected the values of the European Union. I think it is clear that at the moment growth and jobs are the big priority for everyone, because there is lack of jobs, lack of growth. And of course, before the crisis, there was much more talk about environmental issues, much more emphasis on addressing climate change. And that's especially the environmental side has definitely taken a hit due to the crisis. So yeah, I would agree on that, but maybe on the environmental side, but not so much on other issues. Maybe.
Is that on? Well, thank you very much, first of all. Professor Koskenniemi, you have spent quite a bit of minutes on refuting Aleksi's points about how incompatible transatlantic values were. Well, forgive my ignorance, but like the proposing opposition here in this debate group suggested, isn't that beside the point what the society's values are? We're not merging the two countries. I mean, I think we have to be reminded, everybody has to be reminded that TTIP is not about merging two countries, two democracies, two lifestyles. This is only about lifting certain import-export limitations. Personally, in my humble opinion, you have spent disproportionate time on that. Instead, you could have addressed Aleksi's quite concrete points, such as how the US-Australia model can help us in dealing with ISDS problem. Because that was a very concrete solution. Perhaps, again, people who are coming from non-law background might need a little bit of recap on the topic, but I think it's worth it. Please